Hey everyone! So this video is designed to be a supplemental video to give you a little bit more information about the 4th grade workshop that I may or may not have covered in the initial presentation video. And so it's best if you kind of follow along on this worksheet outline. And this is what I'll be going off of, just so I can give you some more information to better help you prepare for your workshop. So, when you arrive at the classroom, you're first going to want to take in and see what kind of shape the classroom is in. Hopefully, it will all be cleared and you'll have a lot of space and the students will be ready to go. If the desks are not cleared and there is not space for your workshop, you're going to need to take the time to clear those desks. I would suggest first asking the teacher if they have a way that they like to clear the room normally, if there is a way that they like to instruct the students to do that. It's also their cue to say, hey, help me, can you help me clear the room, because that's the way it's supposed to be and that's what we asked for. If they say no particular way, then that is your cue to go ahead and clear the room for them. Give very specific instructions about how you would like the room cleared. Don't just say, okay, everybody, shove your desks aside and come meet me. It needs to be done safely. So make sure you give individual instructions to groups about how you'd like them to move their desks and be very clear about what you'd like. And then have them join you on the floor. You might want to say, oh, well, I'll just have them sit on their desks. Immediately, if you have them sitting on their desks, it makes it a very casual, unstructured sort of environment, because students are generally not allowed to sit on their desks, and so it might lead you to having more classroom behavior issues. So I suggest you just bring them right down to the floor in the open space that you've cleared and then launch into your workshop. Okay. And then you go into your introduction. Make sure you go over your ground rules. It's very important, especially when they're up and participating. You want to be able to reference those. And just make sure that you're clear that normally Mary Ground does come in to talk to them about a play that they're going to see, but today they're not going to see a play. They're actually going to get a workshop for the next 50 minutes. So you go through the introduction, and then you're going to launch into the meaty part of the workshop and start talking about the skills that it takes to be a good actor. In the video, you see me use the transition of, as I mentioned earlier, there are many skills that it takes to be a good actor, or that we're going to be talking about the skills that it takes to be a good actor. And today we're going to be talking about the most basic of those skills. That's very important to mention that these are the most basic of the skills, because obviously there's a lot of skills that it takes to be a good actor, but we're only going to be covering the most basic ones. Because acting is a job, and just like any jobs that their parents have, there are certain skills that it takes to be a really good actor. So then you have them raise their hand and tell them a parent and a job that they have, and then ask them one skill that it takes to be a good actor, or to be good at that job. And then just kind of, work with them a little bit. They may immediately give you a really good skill. They might just say, oh, they have to be good at looking at things or something. Sometimes you have to help them out a little bit. So really listen to what they're saying and kind of coach them through. So once you're done with that little section, you say, so you see how these jobs all needed certain skills, actors need certain skills. And we're going to cover the 3 most basic skills, and the first one is observation. Now, on here, it says to write them all on the board right away. I like to write them each individually as I come to them. That way students don't kind of know what to anticipate. It's kind of a little bit more of a surprise. If you don't have access to a whiteboard or chalkboard or smartboard, that's fine. It's nice for them to see it written out, but it's not, make or break for the workshop, okay? So you write observation, and the key for this workshop is introduce, define, example. So you introduce a vocabulary word or a topic, you define it, and then you give an example. And you'll kind of find this throughout all of the workshops. So ask them, who can tell me what observation is? Sometimes they can. If they can't, you can say, where have you heard the word observation before? Maybe they'll give you science class. And then in that case, you have to work with them and probe them a little bit more. Oh, okay, so you've heard of it in science class. How have you heard it used in science class? Oh, well, you have to look through the microscope to observe something. Great, so you're looking through a microscope. So looking is one way that you could observe something. Is there any other way you could observe something? And if they don't give you anything, then you continue to probe by saying, okay, well, what if I had a brand new food in front of me and I wanted to observe it? I could look at it. How else could I observe it? I could smell it. I could taste it, right? So then you're getting them on the right track of seeing, tasting, smelling. Okay, I'm looking for 2 more. And so then you can get them to give you hearing and touching, because you're looking for the 5 senses, right? And then you launch into talking about how an actor uses their 5 senses and their skills of observation to be believable on stage, because the entire point of being an actor is to make the audience believe that what they're watching on stage is truthful and honest, right? And so you can go through any sort of examples. I like to give 2 examples, but you can go through any, 2 examples that you want. I like to do the hot cocoa mug, right, where you're drinking out of the hot cocoa mug. And I also like to do becoming a character, but you can kind of use, your own discretion about what examples you want to use. If you want to do something different, that's fine. But it's really about trying to explore all of those 5 senses to create believable actions, believable characters on stage. Then after that, you say, okay, I want to see how good your skills of observation are. So I'm going to go outside of the door, and when I come back in, I'm going to be a character. Now this character's having a certain kind of day. I want to see, using your skills of observation, you can tell me what kind of day this character is having. Okay, so that's your transition into the next little section. And then you can come in and have any kind of day you want. And if you don't have access to a door, adjust as you want to. You can say, I'm going to turn my back to you. When I turn back around, I'm going to be a new character. I'm going to be having a certain kind of day. For the first one, I try to do just movement and sound. A little bit of sound. I try to keep it fairly simple. And then for the second one, I usually just keep it to pantomime, but you can do whatever you want. And you can also make up whatever story you want for the second one. The second one should be a specific story that you make up that the kids can guess. So making sure it's something that you can clearly pantomime and act out for them. All right. So the first time you go out and come back in, it's very simple, just an emotion. And so they could say you're having a good day, a bad day, an excited day, a terrible day, whatever it is. And then you can kind of work with them. Oh, what did you observe? Making sure you're getting those details from them. Then you say, okay, well, you guys did a great job. Well, you wouldn't say guys. No, guys, we don't say guys. So you would say, okay, you did a great job with that. I'm going to make it a little bit more tough. So I'm going to go outside of the room. When I come back in, I'm going to be thinking of a specific story. I like to make sure that I say it's not Harry Potter or anything like that, because otherwise they'll try to think of a specific story like that, like Language in the Wardrobe or something. But that's not, you say, it's just a story that I'm making up that I want to see if you can guess. Okay? So you go through those 2 exercises, and then after that, then it's time to transition into them creating their own characters. So I say, okay, you did a great job with that, so now it's time for you to create some of your own characters. On the count of 3, I'd like you to quickly and quietly stand up and make a circle. And make sure they follow this rule. This is a really great way to enforce your rules and make sure they know that you are in charge, is by making sure you don't allow them to stand up and move before 3. So you 1, 2, and if they're already up and moving, you say up. I say wait for 3. Make sure they're all sitting down. And then 1, 2, 3, right? It's just a really quick way to reinforce that you are in control of that classroom. Okay? So you get them to stand up and make a circle. And then you say, okay, now this is transitioning into the string exercise and having them use this little magic string to create a character. So the idea is to get them to understand the idea of actor neutral, which is what the string is helping them create. Right? Understand the idea of actor neutral before you move into the actual exercise, okay? So I always say, okay, so before an actor creates a character, they actually have to learn how to not create a character, because right now, you are all the character of you. So everyone take a look around the circle and look at your friends. Everybody has their own way of standing. And that is the character of you. You're standing as the character of you. You're standing as the character of you, right? So we need to erase that character before you can create a new character. And to do that, we need to get into actor neutral. Can anyone tell me where they've heard the word neutral before? So I break it down. And hopefully they say neutral in a car, or they might say a snowmobile or a 4-wheeler, right? You can work with all of those, and you talk about the gear shift, right? Right, so if you put something in neutral, it means you can go the vehicle can go anywhere you want it to go. You might have to probe for it a little bit, so be prepared to have some questions to ask them if they're not getting neutral right away. Great. So then you say, yeah, okay, so when a vehicle is in neutral, it can go any way we want it to go. Same when an actor's body is in neutral, it can go any way that we want it to go. And so to get into actor neutral, we're actually going to use this little magic string. Okay, so there's the string. You get them to attach it to their heads, right? And it's going to pull them up. Now, you might get some kids that are saying, ouch, it hurts. Okay, say, nope, the string doesn't hurt, and you just tell them, right? It doesn't hurt. It's just gently pulling you up. And the idea is that their back is straight and their shoulders are down. Basically, it's giving them great posture. You're going to want to go around and coach and make sure everybody's got their hands out of their pockets. They're going to want to lean back on things, so you want to make sure they're not leaning. And really going around and making sure that everybody's participating and that they feel that string pulling them up. And it takes a little bit of time to go around the circle to make sure that's happening. So once you've gone around and coached to make sure everyone's in actor neutral, you say, wow, this is great. You all are in perfect actor neutral. You've erased the character of you, and you now have a blank slate to start from. And so we're going to use that string that helped us get into actor neutral. It's also going to help us create a character. So why don't you go ahead and take that string off the top of your head. Very good. And you're going to reattach it to your forehead. So instead of pulling you up, it's going to pull you out. Okay. So now you have to think about what kind of character would walk with their forehead stuck way out like that. Now, I sometimes have the kids stand up and stand in neutral and just look at me with my forehead stuck way out, because sometimes it can take a little bit of time for them to think of characters, and, because they're all of, 4th grade, that their backs are already hurting or whatever, they start to complain. So sometimes I say, okay, just look at me with my forehead stuck out. You all can stand straight up. You don't have to have that string pulling out. Just look at me. What kind of character would walk with their forehead stuck out? Make sure you have some creative ideas for yourself to also give to them. Right. So then you give them the instruction of, okay, this is what we're going to do. When I say move around the room, I'd like you to move around the room as a character that has a string or that walked with their forehead pulled way out like so. And when I say return to the circle, I want you to, I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and I want you back in the circle and silent by the time I get to 1. Okay, so everybody get that string pulling you straight out in front of you, and then think of a character and move around the room. Okay, so that's kind of the way that you set them up. So you go around and you really ask them, what character are you? What character are you? I only asked a couple of kids because I was working with the imaginary kids during the video presentation. So I would go around to as many kids as you can and make sure they really have a good idea of what character they are. Okay, and then you say, return to the circle, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you get them back in the circle. Hopefully they followed the directions and were quiet. If not, remind them. Say, you did a good job of making it back to the circle by the time I got to 1, but you were not silent. Okay, so I need you to do a little bit better with that next time. Okay, that just makes sure that they see that you are really remembering the rules that you set out and really are holding them accountable for that. So then you move on to the next part, which is, okay, so now we're going to take the string off our forehead and we're going to attach it to our belly button. Okay, now so the string's going to be pulling you out like this. Okay, so you all can stand up and stand in a row, but look at me. What kind of character would walk with their belly stuck way out like this? Go ahead and get some ideas. Again, you should have some creative ideas of your own. And say, okay, same thing as before. When I say move around the room as a character that would walk with their belly stuck way out like this. And when I say return to the circle, I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. I'd like you back in the circle and silent. Okay, and so everyone get your belly stuck way out like this, the string pulling you, and think of your character, and move around the room. Okay, then again, go around and coach. Back to the circle, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hopefully they're silent. And so that's the end of the string exercise. Okay, then you're moving into the mirror exercise, which you couldn't see necessarily in the video presentation because I was doing it by myself, but is the classic mirror where you're looking in the mirror and someone's doing exactly what you're doing. And you basically have the kids in 2 lines facing each other, team 1 and team 2, kind of in whatever organization works for the space that you have available. So the way that I transition into the mirror exercise is they're already standing in a circle after the string exercise. So then I say, okay, We're going to work on observation a little bit more because it's a very important skill to have as an actor. So I'm going to number you off. Please remember your numbers. And so they're already in a circle, so I can just kind of go around 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? And I just say 1's on this side of the room, 2's on this side of the room. And then I just line them up. 1's here, 2's here, kind of going down the row, right? And, just make sure you're watching for those kids who are trying to move partners and who are trying to outsmart the system, Just make sure that you're really watching them so that they're not, making or hurting somebody's feelings by not wanting to be partners with them or something like that. If there's an odd number of kids, then you should take a partner for yourself. If not, just partner them all up together, and you can use someone for an example once you get to that part, okay? So you pair everybody up going down the line, and then you grab your partner, or you just launch into your introduction, which is, this is called the mirror exercise. And I like to call it an exercise, not a game, because when you say game, it immediately makes the students think that it's going to be fast and quick and like really speedy and competitive, versus an exercise, which is hopefully will lead them to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit slower with their movements. So this is the mirror exercise, and this is how it works. Team 1, please raise your hand. Now I have Team 1 and Team 2 raise their hand because it helps them remember what team they're on, and it also helps me because oftentimes I have already forgotten who's Team 1 and who's Team 2. So I would say Team 1, raise your hand. Very good. Team 1, you are going to be the human being. Okay? Team 2, please raise your hand. You are going to be the mirror. Okay? So then I say, can I borrow you for a minute? And so you just grab somebody to be your helper, and you say, what's your name? Joanna. Let's give Joanna a round of applause just because she's helping you out. It's nice to give her a little support. Okay, Joanna, you're going to be my partner. Okay? And you are going to be, just for right now, you're going to be my mirror. Okay? And I'm going to be the human being looking in the mirror. So if I'm the human being looking in the mirror, I'm going to start moving very slowly, and Joanna's going to follow me. Right? And hopefully she does. If she needs a little bit of help, obviously help her out. Now if I start moving really quickly, you move really quickly. Would she be able to follow me? No, right? You have to move very slowly, very carefully. Thank you very much, Joanna. You can go back to your partner. And then you're going to go over your rules for the exercise, okay? So I have 3. You might want to add more if you'd like. My 3 are, you have to move very slowly, like you're in slow motion or moving through jello or water or whatever. Rule 2 is that everything has to happen from the waist up. And rule 3, it has to be school appropriate. I guess for the video, I might not have had moving slowly as a rule. I think I was school appropriate, waist up. So I guess maybe I have more. So you just make your own rules. Basically, you're going to want to include school appropriate, keeping all movements from the waist up, okay, and no laughing and talking. Okay, you're going to want to include those things as well in your rules. Or guidelines, whatever you want to call them. Moving slowly should definitely be included, but it might not be one of your rules. Okay? And then I like to say, the very best people can do this without laughing and talking, so let's see how well you do. If you do very well, I have a super secret mirror exercise bonus round that only the best 4th graders get to do, so let's see if you can earn the super secret bonus round. And then I like to use the actor neutral that they've already learned, so I say, okay, everybody, back in actor neutral. Very good. And then you get your Team 1, who's the human being. You say, okay, Team 1, slowly begin moving. And then you go around and you coach, and you make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Make sure everybody's moving slowly. Make sure everything's school appropriate. If you do see something that is not school appropriate, make sure you act on it. You might want to give them, one shot and say, not so appropriate. And hopefully they'll stop, and if they don't, then I would pull them out of the exercise. Again, they know that they have to be held accountable to follow the rules that you set forth. So you go through that, and then you say, okay, very good. And then you say, okay, so now we're going to switch, and Team 2 is going to be the human being, and Team 1 is going to be the mirror. And you might want to give them some notes. You did a great job this last time, but make sure the movements are big, or make sure you keep them slow, or make sure you try not to laugh, whatever it is. Excuse me. So you go through again, and so say everybody back in actor neutral, and Team 2 slowly begin moving. Team 2 moves, you go through, you coach. Very good. And if they've earned their super secret bonus round, awesome. Then you go through it, and basically it's the way I described in the video, where you are going to be saying switch, and then they should switch whoever is leading. They should be keeping their hands exactly where they were. They shouldn't drop them each time you say switch. They should stay exactly where they were. And it's fun at the end to kind of say switch, 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 to say it super fast so that they're trying to switch, and then they laugh, and then it's fun, and it's kind of a good way to break the tension at the end before you get everybody seated. Excuse me. So you get everyone, so you go switch, 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 very good. Give yourselves a round of applause. I always give them a round of applause. It's a nice way to transition out of it. And then you have them, excuse me, you have them sit down and face you. And then you just have a little bit of a discussion about how that exercise went for them. Just get a little bit of feedback. You hear from them kind of what they thought and talk to them about that. And then it's time to move on to the next skill, which is cooperation. Now, I love this exercise because it is a great time for you as the actor to get a little bit of vocal break. You can drink some water and things like that because it is a silent task that you're asking them to complete, and it doesn't require a whole lot of talking from you. So you transition by saying, okay, so it's time to work on our second skill, which is cooperation. Now, who can tell me what cooperation is? Remember, introduce, define. Okay, so we're getting the definition. Who could tell me what cooperation is? Oh, working together, teamwork. Right, teamwork. Now, why do you think an actor needs to be able to work together? You get responses from them, and then you tell them your own perspective of why you think an actor needs to be able to work with others. And they say, okay, great, we are going to, so I'd like to see how well you all can work together as a class. So I'm going to give you some tasks to complete. Now, these tasks will be very easy to complete if you are allowed to talk, but you're not going to be allowed to talk. They'd also be easy to complete if you were able to move somebody to where you want to move them to, but you're not going to be able to do that as well. Now, the first exercise is just going to be a warm-up. I'm not going to be timing, but after that warm-up, I will be timing. And so if I see anyone moving or pushing or pulling anybody or hear anybody talking, I'm going to say freeze. So you have to freeze, but the timing will not. So it's going to keep adding time to your score because the goal is to get the lowest time possible. Okay, so you set it up kind of like that. Now, the tasks that you have them complete, totally up to you. I would do one warm-up, which should be fairly straightforward. I did getting in the line from tallest to shortest. And then I would actually probably do another 3 tasks, depending on how much time you have left in the workshop, and also depending on how well the students are doing with the exercise. Okay? So just make sure that you are, after the warm-up, that if you say that you're going to time, that you actually look at the clock and make it at least look like you are timing, right? I mentioned that in the video. Okay? So you go through some exercises with them. Again, at the end, when you've completed your last task, always give them a round of applause. Very good, round of applause. Have a seat. And then you do, again, feedback. What was that experience like for you? What was that exercise? How did you like it? Blah, blah, blah. So then you get feedback from them. And you say, okay, great. Just going to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything here. Great. Okay. So, yeah. So then after you do that, I say, okay, we're going to work on our final skill, which is concentration. You write that on the board. Who can tell me what it means to concentrate? You get the definition. Excuse me. Hopefully you get focus. And then, great, why do you think an actor needs to be able to focus? You get some responses from them. You give them your ideas of why an actor needs to be able to concentrate. And then you say, okay, we are going to play a game to work on concentration. So on the count of 3, I'd like you to quickly and quietly stand up and make a circle. 1, 2, 3. You get them in a circle. And then the explanation for the game goes, something like this. It's in the video, but this game is called House, Tree, Neighbor, and this is how it works. I am a sculptor, and what does a sculptor make? You can get that from the students if you'd like. A sculptor makes sculptures. Now, my sculptures require 3 4th graders to make my sculptures. Okay, and I have 3 very favorite sculptures that I like to make. The first one is house. If I point to you and said house, the center would go like this and make a house this way. And then the person on this side would make a roof with 2 hands going this way. The person on the other side would make a roof with hands going the other way. Does everyone see my sculpture of house? Very good. Once you've made my sculpture and I stop pointing at you, you can put your hands down. Very good. The other sculpture I like to make is tree. So if I said tree to you, your hands will go straight up over your head like so. You'll make a C going this way with branches. You'll make a C on the other side making branches. Very good. Does everyone see my sculpture of house? I'm sorry, of tree. Yeah, we see it. Great. Okay, and then finally, neighbor. If I point to you, you are the center of my sculpture and your arms crossed in front of you like so. And you grab one hand like you're going to shake it, but you don't really. And you grab a hand like you're going to shake it, but you don't really. Does everyone see my sculpture of neighbor? Very good. So I might say house, I might say tree, I might say neighbor. So this is where it gets exciting, is I am not a patient sculptor. If you and your teammates, which are the people on either side of you, your teammates are always going to change, okay? Because whoever the middle is determines who the team is. So if I point to you, who is your teammate? I'm sorry, who are your teammates, right? So you understand that. So it's always going to be shifting based on who the center of the sculpture is. It's the people on either side of them. Right, so you're just making sure they understand that. Right, very good. So if you and your teammates do not make my sculpture by the time I count to 3, you and your teammates will be out. Okay, so you really need to be concentrating, but you also need to be cooperating and observing, right? So we're going to be using all 3 skills during this final game. Okay, so we're going to practice the sculptures just to make sure that you understand them. Okay, so you go through the sculptures, make sure they understand, and it's fine to help them, give them, this is the time for them to really understand what the sculptures look like. Say, okay, now we practice the sculptures, now it's time to start playing for real. And I like to say, as you get better, I will count faster, just so that they know that if you're counting slowly at the beginning, that you are going to speed up, because that's going to help you if you're especially having a class that's really good at the game and hard to get them out. Okay? And I also say at this time, if you are eliminated from the game, please don't be a poor sport. Just don't go take a seat quietly on the outside of the circle, and if there's time, we will play again. Okay? So you go through house, tree, neighbor, and you're just pointing from the center of the circle and hopefully trying to get them out. And if you play around and you tend to play again and you'd like to add another sculpture, you can. There's a ton of them. I'm happy to give you suggestions. You could do Elvis, with that someone playing a guitar in the middle and fans on either side going, oh, Elvis! Or you could do Jello, which is someone wiggling in the middle, and there's a bowl, like the people on either side make the bowl around them. So it's fun. If you have time to play again, it's always fun to add another sculpture in there. Okay? So you go through the game as much as you have time for, and then you get everybody seated. Very good. And then this is time for the wrap up. So this is basically where you just say, now I'm going to let you in on a secret. Now, skills of observation, cooperation, and concentration are very good if you want to be an actor, but they are also good for any dream job that you might have. So who has a job that they would love to do more than anything? So you get some dream jobs and you ask them, okay, which of these 3 skills do you think that job would use the most? Or you might say, you could do it individually that way, or could even just take a bunch of different dream jobs. If everybody's got their hands up, you could say, what's your dream job? Great. What's yours? What's yours? What's yours? So you get all of them, and they say, yeah, all of these jobs that you just mentioned need all 3 of these skills, right? So you can kind of do it in whatever format feels best for you. And then hopefully you have time for a couple of questions before you go. And then you say, thank you very much. You've been a wonderful class. And so that's the 4th grade workshop. It's really straightforward. It's a lot of fun, very interactive. The biggest thing about it is just making sure you keep that classroom control, making sure that the volume level doesn't get too high, making sure you're watching everything that's going on so that that it doesn't get out of hand. And timing-wise, obviously, observation is going to take the longest. So I would say your introduction into right before you're going outside of the door is probably about 5 minutes. Your introduction through getting the definition of observation. That'll be 5 minutes. And then going outside of the door, coming back in, that exercise taking another 3 minutes. So you're at 10 minutes, and then the actual exercises of the string exercise and the mirror exercise should probably take another, I would say, another 10 minutes. So now you're at 20 minutes. And then, yeah, your next two exercises will take another 10 minutes, or sections, I should say. Your, cooperation, another 7 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Blowing it. The last skill of working, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how bad I'm blowing it right now. The last skill, you know what I'm talking about. That last one should take another 7 minutes. And then leaving you a little bit of time at the end, 5 minutes for wrap-up questions. So that's kind of how it times out. Concentration. Oh my gosh. Crazy. I don't know where my mind just went. I guess it must be getting close to lunchtime. Anyway, hopefully you find this helpful. The 4th grade workshop is probably our most straightforward workshop and our most participatory workshop. So I hope you all have fun with it. Thanks so much. I'm headed to lunch. Peace.